First at 4, a family looking for answers and asking for help in solving the cold case killing of their loved one. And we'll hear from 2 families who are being impacted by the violence overseas and hear the firsthand accounts of what's happening there. Kim.
Well, it's a little bit warmer than it was yesterday, and the rain has moved out, but it will return, especially over the weekend. We'll talk about it in a few minutes.
Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Karen Drew. We do start with family and their mission for justice that is still continuing 35 years after the killing of their loved one. It was back in March of 1988. The body of 34-year-old Jacqueline Wise was found by Detroit firefighters responding to a fire at a home on Chalfonte Street between Greenlawn and Tuller. Investigators say that Jacqueline was dead before the house was set on fire. A cash reward of $2,500 is now being offered for information that leads to an arrest. Jacqueline's sister says she still has hope.
It's been many years, but I know with the sophistication of all the scientific things going on that you can get caught. After all these years, you can get caught.
Later tonight on Local 4 News, we're going to hear more from the family as they continue their fight for justice. We're also learning more about that deadly crash on the Lodge Freeway that killed 1 person. This was the scene. It was about 4:30 this morning near West Outer Drive. Investigators say a 34-year-old man from Warren was speeding and struck another vehicle. A 21-year-old in that car was hit and killed. A second passenger is in critical condition this afternoon. The man from Warren was not injured. Police believe alcohol, maybe drugs, were a factor in the crash. We're still digging into the case to learn more, and we'll have an update for you tonight on Local 4 News at 5. Governor Gretchen Whitmer was in Oakland County today to talk about reproductive health care in our state. The governor held a roundtable to talk about the Reproductive Health Act. It is a group of bills that removes barriers to reproductive health, like the 24-hour abortion waiting period and a ban on Medicaid reimbursement for abortions. Right now, the bills are stalled in the State House as they struggle to gain enough support. There is a spaghetti fundraising event happening right now to help the 120 seniors displaced by the Meadows of Southgate apartment fire. The event is being held at the Grecian Center on Dix-Toledo Road in Southgate, and it runs until 8. Many find them annoying, but it is hard to deny that speed bumps make communities safer by forcing drivers to slow down. Today, the city of Detroit celebrating its 10,000th speed bump. This latest edition is located on Rutherford Street on the city's west side. City officials say the speed humps have decreased the amount of accidents and have made streets safer. Time now for our first look at your forecast. Kim is trying to plot out exactly hour by hour on what we can expect tonight, perhaps if your kids have sports or you're headed out. Hey, Kim.
Well, it's a much nicer night, Karen, especially if your kids have sports, because it's dry. Exact Track 40 radar not picking up anything doesn't mean there might be a sprinkle here or there, but certainly nothing like what we had last night, and those practices and things like that should go on as planned. And it's a little bit warmer. Last hour, Metro hit 62, now down to 60. 53, though, north of M59. Pontiac's at 53, mid-50s in Mount Clemens, and 54 in Port Huron. Tomorrow, we'll make it back into the upper 50s with mostly cloudy skies, just a little bit of sunshine, kind of like today, very similar to today. But then the weekend, we get colder air and a lot of rain, especially on Saturday, and we'll talk about timing of that rain in just a few minutes.
Well, the race for the next House Speaker became more clear today after House Republicans voted behind closed doors on nominees. Devin Scillian joins us now, and Devin, early signs were pointing to either Louisiana Representative Steve Scalise or maybe Ohio Representative Jim Jordan.
Exactly, Karen. It was revealed a short time ago that Republicans selected Steve Scalise as their nominee. The latest step toward replacing Kevin McCarthy, of course, was ousted in historic fashion last week. Final tally from this secret ballot. We do know the outcome, though it was a secret voting. 113 for Scalise to 99 for Jim Jordan, so nothing close to a slam dunk. Jordan, of course, had been previously endorsed to be Speaker by former President Trump. The threshold to succeed today was just a simple majority of the conference, but for Scalise to formally become Speaker, he would need 217 votes of the entire Congress. That would be a majority of the chamber. With the Republicans' thin majority, Scalise will need the support of almost all of the GOP members, including those who voted against him today, and right now it doesn't appear that he has that. Scalise spoke to reporters shortly after today's vote and said the GOP is looking to send a message to not only the American people, but to the world.
We have a lot of work to do, not just in the House for the people of this country, but we see how dangerous of a world it is and how things can change so quickly. We need to make sure we're sending a message to people all throughout the world that the House is open and doing the people's business.
Well, it's not right now. The next step is the House floor vote. The chamber gavelled into session about an hour ago, but recessed almost immediately after that. So there is no word on when the official vote will happen. It could conceivably still happen today, but in the meantime, there is no leader of the U.S. House of Representatives.
Obviously, and the trickle effects on that,
Exactly.
affecting everything in the world right now.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Devin. The UAW strike now in day 27 as the talks continue with no end in sight. Layoffs have become a common occurrence. So far across Stellantis, General Motors and Ford, just under 5,000 employees have been laid off nationwide. The automakers say they had to send the workers home due to supply and production issues related to the strike. The UAW, on the other hand, says the big three have more than enough money to keep everyone on their payrolls. As of today, the car makers have been reportedly getting closer to the union's list of demands, but no deal has been struck just yet. American Red Cross is now asking high schools and also colleges to bring back those blood drives to help combat the blood shortage. The Red Cross says fewer blood drives are being hosted at high schools and colleges. Before COVID, about 25% of donations came from school blood drives. After the pandemic, it dropped to 10% before ticking back up again, but it still hasn't reached pre-pandemic levels. Experts say they hope to see a turnaround this school year. Most people can start donating blood when they are 17, in Michigan at 16, with parental permission. The war between Israel and the militant group Hamas is raging for a fifth day today. Israeli warplanes hammered neighborhoods in the Gaza Strip, reducing buildings to rubble and sending people scrambling for safety. The Hamas-run Interior Ministry said Israeli airstrikes killed a large number of people. It also added medical teams are not able to reach impacted areas because roads are destroyed. So far, the war has claimed at least 2,200 lives on both sides, and that number is expected to get higher. Paula Tutman is live for us today after speaking to families who have loved ones in both Israel and Gaza. Paula?
Yeah, very emotional day. I can tell you that because we're talking to family members who have loved ones, as you said, both in Israel and Gaza. Tell me what's going on outside of your window right now.
There is no people, no cars. Everyone is afraid.
Inside her apartment in Gaza, but for the small generator, Raja would have no power and no water. You can hear bombing right now?
Yes, we suspect every second that the rocket will destroy our home. We will die at any moment. So we are waiting for this at any moment.
In West Bloomfield, her cousin Mohammed weeps.
That's my cousin who stayed there. I could have been the one. And why is it not me? And that's the human suffering.
At the Jewish Federation of Metropolitan Detroit, two 18-year-olds, Arella and Itamar, numbly go about their day as volunteer ambassadors for the Shin Shinneman program. For a year's stay in the States, they arrived in August. They have no idea what might await them when they return to Israel.
To hear the unimaginable stories, it's like I want to be there and be there for my family and just like hug them and be with them, but like I'm so far away.
Geopolitics is all about borders. It pays no attention to pain and suffering, which today is a cold and soaking rain into the souls of everyone who has family and loved ones in Israel or Gaza or Israel. There is no border for the pain and uncertainty for loved ones.
No electricity, no power, no food. So if you have not perished by weapons, you might perish through starvation.
On Friday, Arella was talking to her best friend who was preparing to go to the Nova Music Festival with his siblings.
They're missing since Saturday. Nobody heard from them. And it's such a good family. And I know they're good brothers. And I know the mom.
Mohammed is worried about his cousins. They left their home in search of food and supplies. When they returned, This is what they saw. There was no home left. Now they huddle at Raja's. Her granddaughter stopped speaking, eating, or moving. She's frozen with fear. Itamar's brother is serving near the Israeli-Gaza border.
I'm fine, but like the real words behind it is I'm not okay.
The suffering is unbearable, and what makes the unbearable even more unbearable is knowing that there is more suffering to come.
There's sirens right now.
The street doesn't look like the street anymore. The buildings don't look like the sadness about losing the people and the sadness about losing the landmark.
My dad just texted me, we're in the shelter, everything is okay. It's gonna be okay, it's gonna be just fine.
It's just incredible to sit with these folks. They invited us in and to just watch how they are just trying to navigate this. And I do want you to go back to what Raja said when she said, we're just waiting for death to come. And then you put that with an incredible hope and only text messages and the hope that they'll be able to charge batteries so they can communicate. It's a lot for our neighbors, understanding that millions of people right now are in harm's way.
Such a difficult time for everyone on this story, Paula. We do appreciate you sharing both those sides. Thank you. Be sure to stay with Local 4 and click on Detroit.com. We do have continuing coverage of the conflict between Israel and Hamas. Right now on the World page, you can follow live updates as the situation unfolds.